Hi, grade 10. Open your book page 277, chapter review. You know that chapter review contains all materials discussed in the previous videos. So I wish you can do the examples alone, then you can watch the video to check your answers, okay? Now, the first exercise says or talks about the correct or correcting errors in comparative and superlative forms. I will make a quick review of the use of comparative and superlative structures. In comparative, you have to use than, and you have to know that in comparative structures, you compare between two things or two people or two animals or two places. But in superlative forms, you have to use the and you compare one to a group. An example of comparative structure: I am shorter than you, but in superlative, I am the shortest. Look at the first example. I was more hungrier than. Of course, because you know that you have to use er where and more with than. You know that this is a comparative structure because of them. And when you see than, you have to add er or more to the adjective or adverb, right? It depends on the number of syllables. Now look at hungrier. Hungrier. It has two syllables, so it's correct to say hungrier, but it's wrong to say more and er in the same sentence. So here you have to avoid double comparison, and you have to cross out more, and you have to keep er hungrier. Okay? Why? Because I have to say I was hungrier than, I was stronger than, I was taller than, I was for example, smarter than. Okay. Number two, he was the more able. It's wrong to use more after the. Okay. So in this case, you have to say the most able because the takes most, not more. Okay. Number three, uh, was Hitler notorious than Stalin or Stalin? Uh, Here you have to if you focus on this sentence is in comparative form because there's than, and this sentence compared between two, Hitler and Stalin. So, and you have notorious. Notorious has yes, three syllables. So in this case, you have to add more. If the sentence has than, okay, and the adjective has more than two syllables, you have to add more. For example, lions are more dangerous than tigers. For another example, the sunset is more wonderful than for example, um, the garden. Okay, move to number four. Okay, now in sentence number four. Okay. Sentence number four. Here, the oldest by 3 minutes. John Richard's 20 brothers. Here, the sentence compared between two people, John and Richard. So it's wrong to say the oldest. When you compare between two, you have to use er, so you have to say older. Number five. After Diego had started lifting weights, he bragged that he was stronger than anyone. You remember that I told you you have to use else after anyone. So for example, I am taller than anyone else. She is smarter than anyone else. So you have to use else after anyone. Okay, number six here. The worst. People who live along this road complain because it's the worst. It's wrong to use worse after the, okay, because it's in a superlative case, and you know that in superlative you have to change bad into the worst. Okay, so in this case, on sentence number six, guys, you have to say the worst. Okay, number seven. Um, Both Floyd and his brother are landscape designers who are in demand throughout the state, but Floyd is. You have to cross out best. Why? Because here the sentence compared between two boys, Floyd and his brother. Okay, so you can't use best because best is used to compare one to a group. But here, comparing between two, so you have to use better. 8. After the band practice, it sounded more better. Of course, you can't use more with better. It's easy to indicate that. 9. When I had a choice of strawberry or vanilla, I took vanilla because I liked it best. Here also the sentence compared between strawberry and vanilla, so you have to use better. When you compare between two, you have to use better. If you compare one to a group, you have to use best, okay? Number 10, looking across the water at sunset, you can see the beautifulest. Of course, it's wrong. When you have the and you have a syllable with three syllable, if you have an adjective with three syllables or more, you have to use the most beautiful, the most wonderful, okay? Now, so exercise A is done. Let's move to exercise B. Exercise B, you have to revise dangling and misplaced modifiers. Okay? Now, I want you to look at exercise 11 or sentence 11. Now, yipping and running in circles, they saw that the dogs could herd, okay, the sheep into the pens. Now, where is the modifier here? Yipping and running in circles, right? This is the modifier. Now, you have to add this modifier after dog, because you know that dog yipping and running in circle. So you have to say here, they saw that the dogs yipping and running in circles could herd the sheep into the pen. Okay? Number 2, the winners marched off the platform carrying trophies. Okay? You have here a phrase modifier. And I told you before, if you have a phrase modifier, you have to put it at the beginning of the sentence. So you have to say, carrying trophies, comma, the winners marched off the platform. Okay? Let's move to 13. A police officer warned students who drive too fast about accidents during defensive driving class. Now, during the defensive driving class, you have to put it at the beginning because you know that these classes are introduced by the police officer. So you have to say, during defensive driving class, comma, a police officer warned students who drive too fast about accidents. Okay? 14. After escaping, as you notice here that the first three statements are misplaced modifiers, not dangling modifier. After escaping from slavery, you have to ask yourself, who escaped from slavery? Frederick Douglass. So you have to say, after escaping from slavery, Frederick Douglass stressed the importance of education. Again, in sentence 14, you have to ask yourself, who escaped or who was escaping from slavery? Frederick Douglass. So after escaping from slavery, comma, Frederick Douglass, okay, stressed the importance of education. Education. Okay, the importance of education. Next, the last one, we went to visit my grandmother who used to be a history teacher at my school yesterday. Just you have to add yesterday at the beginning and keep a sentence the same way. Okay? Okay. Let's move to 16. Climbing the stairs um just okay here. Climbing the stairs, his glass fell off. Now, this statement is dangling or contains a dangling modifier. So, in this case, you have to add a subject to make a sentence clear. Okay, so again, climbing the stairs, the glass fell off. So here, this is an example of dangling modifier. So you have to add a subject. So you can say, while he was climbing the stairs, his glass fell off. Again, guys, and sentence number 16. Okay, you have to add an subject here. So you have to say here, while he was climbing the stairs. Okay, number 17. Maria took a close-up photograph of a lion with a telephoto lens. Um, just you have to add, or you have to put with a telephone lens at the beginning, and you have to say Maria took a close-up photograph of lion. Nesting in a tree outside my window, I see a small bird. Now, nesting in a tree outside my window, this modifier is modifying a small bird. So you have to add nesting in a tree outside my window after a small bird. So you have to say, you have to say, I see a small bird nesting in a tree outside my window. 19. A young woman knocked on the door wearing a suit and hat. Okay, so in this sentence, just you have to change the place of the modifier. You have to say a young woman wearing a suit and hat knocked on the door. Okay, walking in the sunshine, it felt warm to us. In sentence number 20, you have to add a subject. Okay, because if you say walking in the sunshine, can't modify it. So in sentence number 20, you have to add a subject. We walked in the sunshine as we walked or while we, and you can choose any structure. You can say while I was walking in the sunshine. Okay, or you can say as we walked in the sunshine, it felt warm to us. Okay, I don't need exercise C. You can cross it out.